the concept of magnetic attraction in this industry. And what essentially magnetic attraction is you building value within yourself so you become valuable no matter what. Does that make sense? Okay, that's what's going to determine how much money you make in the marketplace. You becoming valuable to the marketplace. So my section, this part is just me giving you guys an overview, very upfront with you guys. I don't know much of the tactical stuff, okay? I just understand the 30,000 feet view, and because I understand that, I'm able to leverage systems, leverage sales funnels, and grow very fast. So my first big breakthrough was, who's made some money at least? Even if it's $500, raise your hand. Okay, look around. Give yourselves a big round of applause. That's like 95% of the room. Okay, so my big breakthrough was, as I started making money, my income, I don't know about you guys, but it was very up and down. And I hated it. I mean, one day I would make $2,000. I would go and tell my dad, I just made $2,000. He wasn't really that supportive because he would turn around and say, can you do that every day? And I'd say, no. And he said, one day he said to me, son, I need to talk to you. Get in the car. We start driving. And he says, son, you know what? And he's God bless him. Now he's doing very well. He's a property developer. But at the time he said to me, son, I believe the internet is not going to last. I said, what do you mean? He says, internet's going to go away. I said, where's it going to go? He says, I don't know. It's just going to go away. I say 4 to 5 years. You don't have a future there. Okay, and so I had a lot of support from my father, okay, when I started out, because I spent about $45,000 and I didn't make any money. Who spent a lot of money and then realized, holy smokes, this thing is very expensive? I thought, $2,000, I'm going to be rich. I remember you guys know a place called Brick Lane? Brick Lane. I'm in the basement because my father's friend felt sorry for me. So he said, you know what, you guys don't have enough space in your house. Your son can come and stay in the basement and learn. And as I started using the basement, one day I get this email, and all the email said was, you get to come to Las Vegas and rub shoulders with millionaires. That was it. And at that time, if I made $10,000 a month, I would have been the happiest kid in the world. Who would be happy if they made $10,000 a month? Trust me, you're liars. Then you'll be like, no, I don't need to make $100,000 a month. And that's the natural progression of when you start earning in this business. When you start earning, then you start realizing there's unlimited growth. What is there? Unlimited growth, okay? I grew up in a 3-bedroom council flat in Brick Lane, just off Brick Lane, a place called Cambridge Youth Road. And growing up, I thought to myself, I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. So I go and meet millionaires. And when I was growing up, I never realized I was poor. I come from a family of 6. We have 3 brothers, 3 sisters. We had a whole bunch of family live with us, cousins from back home. And so I never realized I was poor until I met rich people. And then I was like, whoa, I'm poor. I've been poor my whole life. I need to get on this side, and I want what those rich people have. And as I started learning about internet marketing, I went to seminars. I remember taking out £1,500 for my best friend, going to Las Vegas, and I met a millionaire there. And one of the things he said to me was, Shaq, in this business, it's all about positioning. Who's heard of that term before? Okay, I'll tell you right now. Just before he said that to me, I spent about 20 minutes telling him, how broke I was, how poor I was, how I had no money, I had no self-confidence, that I was insecure because of my age. And I honestly thought to myself, who the heck wants to learn from a 20-something-year-old? I mean, I was at the time 20 years old. I was like, who wants to learn from a 20-year-old university dropout who has the name Shaqir Hussyin and who's a Muslim? That was my thing. Because here's the thing. When I went to America, I remember meeting this big guru, and in front of everyone, he said, what's your name, son? And I said, Shaqir. He says, where are you from? I said, I'm from London. My name is Shaqir Hussyin. And he goes, Shaqir Hussyin, like Saddam Hussein? And I thought, holy shit, are American people like this? And so, by the way, they're not like this. Not all of them. Some of them are. And now Donald Trump's trying to take over the world, which we're not going to talk about politics. So I remember going to this event, and one of the first two people I met, they were from Norway. And I go sit in the bar with them. I don't drink, but I used to smoke back then, which I quit smoking last year. Winning. Yay. That was after many, many years. Thank you. After many years, I gave up cigarettes, although I do have a bad habit of shisha smoking. But anyway, that's a different topic. So I go to this live event, and I'm sitting in this bar. I actually found a picture of it 2 days ago. I might show it to you guys later on. I'm at this bar, and I meet these two guys from Norway. And one guy is telling the other guy how they go into this business. And they're talking rubbish. They're drinking beer, they're whistling at the girls going by in Vegas, in the little bar area. And I say to him, hey man, have you guys made money with this shit? Okay, obviously I'm British, so my language was very direct, okay? And he looks at me, and this was a guy, he had broken teeth. He's about 55, 57 years old. His name was Per Gunnar Hoem. Still remember his name because he changed my life. And he said to me, hey kid, last month I made 65 grand. And I remember very clearly, I was wearing a cheap, oversized jacket, not like a Hugo Boss. It was a cheap one. I remember getting up, putting my jacket on, put my hand out. I said, hey man, thanks, you inspired me. And I walked out. Anyone been to Las Vegas? All right, just a couple of you guys. Okay, rest of you guys, step 1, make lots of money. Step 2, go to Las Vegas. Okay, we need people to travel more. Traveling is one of the fastest ways you're going to expand your horizons and broaden your wisdom. And so in Las Vegas, Paris Hotel, you guys know it? And in front of Paris Hotel, there's a place called Bellagio with the big fountains. You guys seen it on TV? I remember going across there, and back then I was a little bit more fat, so I was like a little fat kid. There's an ice cream van there. I get an ice cream, and I remember watching the fountains, and at that moment I said to myself, wow, these people are no different than me. And I just remember sitting there, little fat kid, having my ice cream, and I thought, man, I'm going to be rich. That was all I had in my mind. I remember going back to the event and meeting this millionaire, talking to him for about 20, 30 minutes, and I was talking, he was listening. And then he said to me, you know what you need to do, Shaq? And I told him, basically, I have no money, but I've come here on my last bit of money. I literally went to the girl in the reception. She's a pretty little girl, so I went and told her, I need to find the cheapest room in the hotel. And she gave me the cheapest room right next to the elevators, which sucked. And I remember going into that hotel, guys, and so I'm super thirsty. I just flew from London. It's a long flight. I open up they had a fridge there, okay? Back then, by the way, when I used to go on holidays, it was 5 guys to a room in Spain, £300 all inclusive, because we were young kids. We couldn't afford that. And I remember going into this fridge thing. I open up the thing and there's water. And I grab a bottle of the water, and there's this slip that falls out. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this slip? I look at it, and it's actually a menu of how much the drinks cost. And the first thing I thought was, is this a joke? Because firstly, I had never been to a hotel that basically had this menu thing. And I think the price of the water was like $5 or $10. It was really high. And the Asian kid inside me said, Shaq, you can get it cheaper from the supermarket. So that's exactly what I did. I went downstairs. As I was going downstairs, I remember very clearly there was a whole bunch of people downstairs gambling away. And I thought, wow, something needs to change in my life, because it's not cool that I can't afford a bottle of water, regardless of the price. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Right? And some people, they will have different things. Some people they say they can't afford a car, they can't afford a house. For me, back then, it was just like the most basic, simple things. If I went into a restaurant, I would look at the menu from the right-hand side. Anyone else been there, or was that just me? I remember going to the event in Las Vegas, talking to this millionaire, and he says to me, Shaq, what you need to do is position yourself at the highest level. Okay. By the way, this is after, for 20 minutes, I just poured out my heart to him. And when he said that, I know what he meant. He said, go home, find the money, go and buy 20 grand worth of products. And immediately I looked at him and I thought, you bastard. Okay, there was another term there. But I thought, wow, did you not hear anything that I just said? And he came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder and said, Shaq, that's a great story. That's the story that has kept you there. Let's change that story. And he just walked off. He just walked off. And at that moment, I realized I could make two decisions. One, I could empower myself and go and find the money, which at the time was a huge amount of money. Huge amount of money. And I thought, okay, if I write down 20 people's name, and if I start writing down one after another, if I ask them for $1,000 each, I'll raise the $20,000. Make sense? And so I go home, and I actually didn't have to do that. I wrote down probably about 6, 7 names, and on my fourth or fifth person, by the way, these were all family, these were all friends. All my friends were broke. My family, they didn't believe this was they said this was a scam, and they don't support scams, so they never supported me. And then I found this guy on Twitter, which I built a relationship with on Skype. And I remember just randomly asking people for money. This sounds really crazy, yes? I would get on Facebook, message people, hey, I'm 20 years old, I just started a business. Listen, I need some money. Is there any chance you can lend me some money? Now when I look at it, I think, who on earth would do that? Only I would do that. However, taking action gets you results, yes or no? Yes. Right? So I start taking this action because people respond, and no one said anything bad. Sometimes they said, get lost, which was fine. And there was one guy called Colin Alomes. He was from New Zealand. He was a farmer. And by the way, don't go and research him because he's not going to give you money. But I go up to him, I start building a relationship with him, and I tell him, hey man, this business costs about $35,000 to invest. I've invested about 10 grand. I have no money. Can you lend me some money? I'll pay you back. And I have no idea. He basically said, Shaq, I believe in you. I don't know why he would believe in me. Back then, I was even crazier. So he said, I believe in you. I'm going to go and sell my car, and I'll try and fund this for you. And 2 weeks later, I'm waiting. 2 weeks later, he comes up to me and he says, hey man, I'm really sorry. I couldn't sell my car. It's a rare Corvette. But myself and my fiance, we believe in you just because of who you are, just because of talking to you. We trust you. What up, AD? Long time. All right. You distracted me right now. So he messaged me and he says, I couldn't sell my Corvette, but I believe in you, and we've taken my fiance's something savings, and we've given you 28 grand. I was like, wow. Now, obviously, I had to pay him back, which was in about 6 months' time. But I took that money, I took all the money I could in the beginning, and I just invested in myself. I invested in myself, and even then, what I was essentially doing was just buying all these different programs, but never following through. Does anyone relate to that? Yeah. Right? And what happens is, guys, and this is the honest truth, when you buy something, in the moment, it feels good, okay? And it's good to some extent, but what you want to do is take that feeling and you want to commit yourself over a long period of time, okay? And I told myself, don't judge me, I didn't have big goals back then. I told myself, if I make $10,000 a month, that's 120 grand a year, my mom is going to be very happy with me, because I've been one of those troubled child growing up. Out of all the 6 kids, I'm the only one that's a little bit off. I don't know what happened. And anyone else like that? The black sheep? Huh? Just me? Okay, some of you guys nodding. And I remember going from that stage where I was in a stage where I had absolutely no money to making money, and then figuring out the fastest way to get results would be if I invest in myself. And my goal was to make 100 grand a year by the time I was 30 years old. I told myself, if I make 100 grand a year, I'm happy, and I'm giving myself 10 years, because then I can tell my mom and dad I'm making more than a doctor. So I'll disappoint them for 10 years. And so 2009, I come November, just like an event like this, okay? From 2009, January 2010, I have my first ever $40,000 month. Literally, it went from practically nothing to $40,000 in a single month. Now, what happened afterwards is another story, which I went and spent it because I discovered a place called Park Lane in Mayfair, and I discovered all the wrong people there. But what happened was, that month I made $40,000. Who thinks their life would change if you make $40,000 in a single month? I made $40,000, and my father said to me, son, you've made some money, Don't spend it all at once. I said, Dad, you don't understand. I'm going to reinvest it. I'm doing radio ads. You don't know anything about radio ads. I got this. And I remember marching up the stairs and I thought, my dad doesn't know anything. What's he talking about? I took that money and within a couple of months, I had spent all of it. It's fascinating because a few weeks ago, I was in my parents' house and I find these tickets. You guys see these tickets? And the first one says, November 19, 2009. It was the Las Vegas event. The last Vegas event that I went to that completely changed my life. And I was like, wow, I should carry this thing around with me. And so now, isn't that cool, you guys? I mean, it shows how real this stuff is, right? And so over the last, I guess, next few years, I struggled for the first 2 years, okay? And then I discovered a couple of these concepts, and you've probably heard of them before, but I want you guys to have an open mind. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah. Have an open mind. That way it really goes into you, okay? And so what happened was I started making money that was up and down. I'd made the odd commission here. I'd be so happy for a day. Then I'd be depressed for like 2 weeks. And then I'd be so attached. This is another secret I'm going to share with you guys. I'd be so attached with someone giving me the word that they're going to buy. Anyone else been like that? Where someone messages you and they're like, yeah, don't worry, I'm going to join you. And I remember waiting for this guy for like 3 months to join. And I was like, in my head, I was like, he's going to join. Then I've got all these debts. I'm going to pay off all these debts. And then after about 3 months, he said no. And I thought, wow, did he do that on purpose? And I felt so gutted. And then I discovered the concept of magnetic attraction in this industry. And what essentially magnetic attraction is you building value within yourself so you become valuable no matter what. Does that make sense? Okay, that's what's going to determine how much money you make in the marketplace. You becoming valuable to the marketplace. When you do that and you focus on developing a skill, then you have an abundance mindset. Does that make sense? I go into events and I have programs that people invest $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 with me. And I always tell people, whether you buy this or not, I am not going to lose any sleep. Because it's not because I'm arrogant or I have money. It's not that. It's this. I understand the skill behind what it takes to make money. Does that make sense? And most people, what happens is, and I'm telling you guys this now, this is what you have to focus on. You have to develop at least 1 or 2 skills in this industry. Whatever it is, whether it's copywriting, Facebook ads, you have to put in that grind, that time, energy to learn one skill. Does that make sense? So who here is on that path to actually learning one core skill? All right, we're going to start with Marilyn. What's the one core skill that you're committed to learning, developing over the next 3 to 6 months?
Video marketing.
Video marketing? Okay, cool. You?
Same
Video marketing?
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads?
Emailing daily.
Emailing daily. Okay, we'll talk about emailing daily. I know a thing about 2.
Solo ads.
Solo ads? Awesome. Yourself?
More traffic.
Traffic?
Content marketing.
Content marketing. Susan? Content?
Building a list.
Building a list?
Coaching.
Coaching?
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads?
Yeah,
Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, buddy, pay attention.
No, nothing at the moment.
Okay, cool. So you're going to...
No focus.
Okay. At least he's being honest.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, David?
Emailing my list.
Emailing your list. Jane? Facebook ads? Yeah?
Video marketing.
Video marketing?
Video ranking.
Video ranking? Facebook?
Video marketing.
Okay, next.
Video marketing.
Are you guys just saying video marketing because the next person is telling you video marketing? It's like I'm not going to process in my brain. What's the one thing that you'd want to learn over the next 3 to 6 months you're going to commit to learning? Facebook ads? Okay.
Too soon to tell you.
Okay, too soon. Addy?
YouTube.
YouTube?
Follow it up on emails.
Email marketing? Okay.
Video marketing.
Video marketing? You guys at the back?
Yeah, just traffic.
Traffic?
Online.
Open mind, good stuff. Okay. Imran?
Webinars.
Webinars. Venkata?
Doing a
Live event. Give him a big round of applause. All right. Are you guys actually going to hear from Venkata? He's one of my top students. He just started very recently, and the progress that he's got. So, did we have new pens? Someone? Okay, Sean's going. All right. So, these three things, all these things that you said, guys, I'm going to tell you, it will always be easier once you implement these three things. Okay. Number one is coaching. Okay. Number two is sales funnels. Number three is community. Okay, and I'm going to quickly just run through on these because I want Phil to come up. Would you guys like me to expand on these three things? Okay, here's the thing. When I tell you guys these stories, they're all real, and hopefully you guys get the breakthrough in this, okay? So the first one, I was making up and down income. Some days I'd make money, some days I wouldn't. I discovered I needed to just learn a skill. Thank you very much. And then what had happened was I was stuck at a position where I was making around $5,000 to maybe $10,000 a month, okay? Sometimes I'd make $20,000 to $30,000 in a single month. But I had all these costs. It was just all over the place. And I remember this Australian man, James was his name, he offered me coaching. And it cost $1,500 an hour. You guys think that's a lot of money? No. Yeah. Especially when you don't have any much money and someone's asking you for $1,500 for his hour of time. And I remember just thinking in front of my computer, what if I spend 1 hour and I don't get the value? Or what if I have a question and he can't answer me? Yeah, by the way, this guy had made over $10 million. So he knew a thing or two about making money online. And I remember getting on that call and talking to him. I said to him basically where I'm at, and he said to me, Shaq, what you have to do is position yourself as the authority in the marketplace. Pick a topic, get good at it, and then position yourself. And I said, I sell this program called Solo Ads. He said, how do you sell it? I said, I sell it, I have to talk to people on Skype, XYZ. And he said, what I would do is I would create like the Solo Ads agency. And I remember being on that call, I had no distractions, but I went to GoDaddy.com and I bought soloadsagency.com. Within 12 months, this was about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago now. Yeah, at least 3-4 years ago. I went onto GoDaddy.com, bought soloadsagency.com. Within 12 months, because of the power of positioning and because I was getting coaching from him, okay, I positioned myself in the marketplace. This was how I first made my first million or my second $1 million when I was about 23, 24 years old. And within 12 months, my income went from making up and down income to making $300,000 a month. Is that powerful? And this was about 3-4 years ago. And God bless me, I don't think my income has ever dipped under 300,000 for the last many, many years. And now I'm at a position where my business, last month we did about $800,000. I do have costs, so that didn't all go into my pocket, just so you guys know. I do have a lot of costs. But we're in that phase now where we're growing. And I look back and, I was just talking to Paul. I thought, wow, we've come a long way. And here's the thing, your journey is here right now. Do you guys see that? Okay, in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, it could be so much different. People come up to me and they say, Shaq, I see you traveling around the world. I'm like, yes. And I could see that they would love to. Who would love to travel around the world? Okay, try traveling 50 countries in a year. It gets a little bit tiring. Okay, I just came back from, Canada. And in Canada, I had one of the students, a friend of mine, he hired a private helicopter to go. I told him, I said, man, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to go to Niagara Falls. Don't laugh at this part. I said, I always thought Niagara Falls was in America. And he said, Shaq, it's a couple of hours away. So he organized this private helicopter, which was amazing. It was the first time I went on one of those big helicopters. And we flew over Niagara Falls, and we could see the falls, and we just went down there. It was such an amazing experience. So, I'm able to do all of these things. Why? Because 5 years ago, I made one decision. Does that make sense? I just had to go on a call, and I paid him $1,500 for the hour, and my income just skyrocketed. And essentially, even now, I always do this. I just came back. Oh, you guys, if you're on my email list, you know I went to Canada. Most people think I went to Canada for a live event to expand. That was a byproduct, because here's what happened. I had to invest $25K with my buddy Matt Lloyd to go and see this man who's 72 years old. His name is Dan Sullivan. Anyone heard of Dan Sullivan? Okay, awesome. So Dan Sullivan basically teaches entrepreneurs how to think better. He has all these frameworks. And let me tell you this, I come from an Asian brown family. If I told my dad, I'm paying this 72-year-old man 25 grand, he's going to teach me how to think. Okay, I don't know if he's going to slap me or he's going to say, son, I'm really disappointed in you now. Okay, haven't I taught you how to think? So we paid 25K. And, we went there. I mean, it was a whole bunch of stuff that he talked about. A lot of the stuff we knew, but he had to reaffirm it. And in the first 2 hours, I had the one breakthrough that I was like, wow, this is worth millions of dollars. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Right? So the breakthroughs you want to come up with by having that open mind and being open. And so because I was going there and I was paying him 25K, I thought, hey, guys, we should expand our events business in Canada. And we did, and let's just say it's gone pretty damn well. That's going to be my third home after Singapore now. And so, coaching, second thing is this, community. No matter what I do, I always plug myself in communities, okay? You guys are part of the my.com business community right now, which is great. It's a great starting point. You want to make sure, because here's the honest truth. You can get all hyped up, jazzed when you're here, but when you're around friends and family, they don't get you. Yes or no? Anyone like that? Right? Even now, I tell my dad, actually, he did support me a few days ago. He said, son, you should save up your money. And I thought he was going to give me the same old lecture. But he said, because you told me you want to buy the private island. I said, yeah. He says, okay, save up. But when I got started, I had absolutely no support from my friends and family. Can anyone relate to that? Okay. And I remember one day being so happy. I was making about $2,000-$3,000 a day, and it was like, I hit refresh and the sales are coming, and you can see the bar moving. And I went downstairs and I scripted. I don't usually script anything, but I scripted this how I'm going to tell my dad. And I dragged him from the living room upstairs. I said, Dad, come upstairs. I need to show you this. I open up my computer and I'm like, watch this, Dad. And I hit refresh and the damn bar keeps moving up. And I'm like this excited, happy kid. And I said, Dad, what do you think, man? And he said, how long have you been making money like this? I said, about 2 weeks now. It's going to be consistent. He says, well, give it 2 months. If it's consistent, then it's good. And I just thought, wow. So I had a lot of support. And I quickly realized that when we come in as a community, as a family, we're in a very different world. Who feels like you're in a very different world than the people in the outside world, right? And I'll tell you now, as you start even getting deeper into a community, you start upgrading, whatever the case is, you start to see a very different reality. Even the guy, a lot of the times people will not resonate with a guy who makes $1 gazillion just because it's so outside their comfort zone. Does that make sense? Now, when I speak to my family, I say, oh yeah, I just do web design. Can you do my website? No. We're not that good of a company. We have people in the Philippines. It's going to be very bad. You shouldn't use us. Are you sure? Just make it. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't use us. So my own family have no clue what I do. My mom thinks I just travel around the world. My dad thinks, now he gets it. He understands what we're trying to achieve. But again, the reason why I share this is because I've always been part of a community. And you must ask yourself, who is the community that you're a part of? And here's the most important question, because this is a question I even ask myself now. Who are the 3 to 5 people I can reach out to anytime? Right? Write this down. Who are the 3 to 5 people that I can reach out to anytime? My team, I'm one of those people, I'm very content and happy with what I have, but I'm always striving for a lot more. Does that make sense? And so my team are happy because we're doing events in Singapore, Hong Kong, Canada, and I'm like, no, guys, now I want to do, going from one event every 3 months, we're going to one event a week. And I'm like, guys, I'm not happy. I want to do 8 events a month. And they're like, Shaq, you're killing us. I'm like, no one's dying, so we can carry on. And but do you guys understand what I'm talking about? The growth? Oh, let me put this thing back on. So it's very important for me. I've always been driven by growth. I'll figure it out later, but right now I want to grow. Ask yourself, who are the top 3 to 5 people that you can get questions from? Now, when I say stuff like we're doing, 4 events or 8 events, even when I tell my team, they get very happy, right? Do you guys think that's pretty cool? Yes, right? But then I have friends that I am in touch with. I was speaking to one guy, his name is Peter Wen, and he said, oh, Shaq, we just done $300 million in the last 12 months, over 12 brands. And I'm like, damn, why am I struggling with 5 brands? Do you guys see the difference? So, and it's not, it's not all about making money. I was talking to Marilyn, and I said, Marilyn, one of my top values is having fun and having a life. But it's about pushing yourself, right? The more that you can push yourself, the bigger the result, the bigger the breakthrough. So I've always been part of communities, coaching, and essentially having sales funnels, okay? What I discovered was I could take the same sales funnel I have in Singapore, and then I could tweak it a little bit, which essentially means go onto my slides and tweak it from special for Singapore workshop to special for Canada workshop. By the way, don't worry, I'm not going to do that with you guys here, but because that's a very basic event. And all I'm doing is having the same materials duplicated, and now I'm going into a different market. Does that make sense? And suddenly, my entire business just doubled in 1 month, right? It doubled in 1 month, and we're planning to grow it. I have very big goals for the next year. I want to grow 10x from what we've done this year over the next 12 months. And when it comes down to it, it's sales funnels. Would you guys want to learn about sales funnels? Okay. Right, I'm going to talk to you guys about sales funnels. Why? Because right now in the industry, not being too braggadocious, but I have some of the highest converting sales funnels. People that join my list, I would make $10 to $20, $30 per subscriber per month. Is that great, you guys? Okay, now it won't happen for you overnight, I'm just telling you. It takes a little bit of time in the beginning, but you have to look at this as a long-term play. If you look at it as a 12-month plan, then I'm pretty confident that you guys can have a very much higher ROI on your investment. Does that make sense? I remember the first time I made $1 million, it was from about 10,000 subscribers. Is that powerful, you guys? From 10,000 subscribers. And then I thought to the first thing I did was obviously call my dad. Dad, I made $1 million. Are you sure? Dad, I'm sure, man. I got $1 million cash saved. Okay, son, don't tell anyone. All right, so that was, and again, what I discovered was, I actually never believed. I thought, man, I just got lucky because I made, $1 million. Then I made the second one and thought, no, now I really got lucky. And then by the time I made my third million, and then now I've done about $25 million in sales over the last few years, I realized there's an art and science to it. Does that make sense? That's how I went from 1, 2 to now building 6 different businesses to $1 million and beyond. And again, it's the art and science which I'm going to talk to you guys about here. Do you guys do webinars? Would you guys want to learn about webinars? Hey, listen, the first time I did a webinar with Paul Lynch, the first day, we sold 22 or 26 MLRs. Is that powerful? Just from one day. And obviously, Paul wasn't as smart as he is today, so because he didn't upgrade, so all of those pass-ups came to me. Thanks, Paul. I don't drink, so I can't buy you drinks. I'll buy you some food later on or something. So for me, coaching, community, sales funnels. That's going to be my topic over the next 3 days. I've got some amazing keynotes that I'm going to cover with you guys. That's going to cover email marketing. Do you guys want to learn email marketing? Okay. You guys get my emails every day, yes? Each email takes me about 30 to 45 minutes. I'm literally going to go and send an email right now. When I send an email in the morning, I can expect anywhere from 20 to 28,000 US dollars coming to my account by the end of the day. It doesn't matter where I'm at in the world, I do that. Does that make sense? Now, do you think people complain when I email? Yes. I have people saying, Shaq, you are a terrorist. Why are you emailing me? This is a scam. I have all of this stuff, but do you think I care? No. Okay, I keep doing it because it's one of those things I'm consistent. Over the next 3 days, we're going to show you guys email marketing campaigns that have worked for me. We're also going to give you guys some done-for-you emails so you can go and leverage. Webinars. Who here is currently doing webinars? Raise your hand. Okay. Who here is currently not doing webinars? Honesty in the room. Gosh, guys, it's one of the reasons why you're not making money. Okay, one webinar a month, one webinar every couple of weeks. It's going to help you guys. Today we're going to, over the next 3 days, we're going to cover webinars. My last webinar, the one before I did last, I think it was about 6 to 8 months ago, one single webinar. The first time I did a webinar, I was so nervous, I was sweaty, I did it in the basement. And I said to myself, well, this is leverage. This is a leverage tool. I need to get really good at doing webinars. You want to write this down. Get really proficient at doing webinars, especially if you don't like making videos. When I was 21 years old, I was morbidly obese. I was like really fat, had long greasy hair, and I did not want to put myself on video. Paul, you're not allowed to show any of my pictures from back then. Okay, just a side notice. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what, I need to figure out how to do these webinars so I can sit at home and just present and talk. And I remember going to Australia. Anyone been to Australia? Sydney, Australia? The first time I went to Sydney, Australia, there's a guy called John Sugar. He had this webinar going around and he said, Shaq, can you promote this to your list? I said, man, I'm not good at doing webinars, but why don't you come along and you do the content, you do the pitch, and I'll drive the traffic. And it was about 4 a.m. So I land in Sydney, Australia. I go to my hotel room. I call up my friend, the guys that used to work for me, and I say, hey guys, have you guys done the webinar? And they're like, no, Shaq, there's 2 hours left. You can do some preparation or not, and just start doing the webinar in, I think it was like 6 a.m. So I stay up all night. I do this webinar, and the first day we make $60,000. It was about $58,000. And at that moment, I was like, wow. By the way, it wasn't even my product. All I did was host the webinar. Does that make sense? Imagine you being able to host a single webinar and have other people, have Paul Lynch, have Phil sell for you guys instead of you trying to sell. Do you guys see the power behind that? So my first time, I wanted just a jump start, right? I wanted someone to fast track me, getting me results. And so I remember telling him, you do all the work, let me just leverage you and I'll just pay you. And the next day, they kept saying, Shaq, send out a replay. And I was like, no, I don't want to send this out to my subscribers. They can complain. So they said, Shaq, you need to send out a black bloody replay. So I sent it out. The next day, we did $60,000. And no one had to convince me anything else. Every single day for about 15 days, I emailed the list. Okay, I had a lot of complaints back then. What had happened was, in a period of about 3 months, we generated over $320,000 from a single webinar. Is that powerful, you guys? And I thought to myself, wow, I probably could never ever do this ever again. And so I didn't for a long time. And then I started doing webinars again, and every webinar I did since then, some of them have completely flopped. Do you guys think some of them don't work? Absolutely. Some of them may not work. Some of them, what's going to happen, I'm telling you this now, because I want you guys to position yourself with doing webinars. Sometimes you're going to see results that will come in much, much later. So last year, I did a 1 webinar campaign. Okay, how many? One. And it completely changed my business because it pulled in over $1.5 million, about $1.4 million from one webinar. And on the webinar, I just got on, spoke for 2 hours, and I said, hey, you want to buy my products? They start from $10,000 to $25,000, $40,000. And we emailed that replay, I don't know how many times, but let's just say a lot. But do you guys understand the leverage? A few months ago, anyone know a guy called Raymond Aaron? Okay, so Raymond, yeah, he's the book guy, right? So Raymond Aaron is a good friend of mine. He's 70-something years old. He's been speaking on stage for 32 years. He's a great speaker. And he says, Shaq, I want you to come in and teach some of these students about MOB. So I come in, teach them about MOB, give them a bunch of value, and then I leave. remember, this was a webinar, and they said, Shaq, do you want to pitch something? I said, I always have something to sell. I'll be happy to offer. So I offered some stuff. At that webinar, not a single person bought. There wasn't a lot. There was maybe 20, 30 buyers, but not a single person bought. Here's what happens. I'm in Toronto. The first day we walk into Toronto, this guy comes up to me and he says, hey, Shaq, can I get 5 minutes of your time? I drove here. I said, I'll give anyone 5 minutes. Just don't try and sell me weight loss tablets or your MLM programs. Okay? Addy. No, I'm kidding. I know Addy, so I'm picking on him. The guy comes up to me. His name is Tony, and he says, hey, Shaq, I just turned 50 years old today, and I'm ready to buy a business. What do I have to do? And I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. You need coaching. You need some traffic, sales funnels. I just showed him the triangle. At the end, I said, well, there's a couple of options, $50,000 or 120K, 130K. And he said, okay, I'll take the 50K option. He literally went to the back of the room, paid 20 grand deposit. And said, I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to tell my wife that's my 50th birthday present to myself. The next day he comes in, frantically looking. Remember Sean? He's going crazy. And I'm like, is everything okay? I'm like thinking to myself, was there buyer's remorse or does he want a refund? Or like, what's going on? He comes in and says, Shaq, listen, I spoke to my wife. I've decided, he's a realtor, by the way. He sells real estate. He goes, Shaq, I've decided I'm going to give you $130,000 cash to come and work with you. Do you guys think that's powerful? Okay, and I always ask this one question is, how did you find me and what made you buy? And he said to me, hey, I was on a webinar with you and Raymond, and I just heard your enthusiasm. I just know you know your stuff, and I want to fast track. I've done all this stuff. I've tried. I'm sick and tired. I just want to fast track. And I said, when was this webinar? He said, because I was doing the webinar and I had my video turned on so you can see me. He goes, no, it wasn't the video, Shaq. My computer didn't work, so I called in and I listened in. And I thought, wow. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? 4 months ago, I did this one webinar, and then 3-4 months later, the residual effect is coming on board. Do you understand? So imagine now you do webinars. Imagine now you position yourself. Imagine now you're able to work and you're actually doing something and you start building on it, right? Then what happens is it becomes unstoppable. And that's basically that's how I've been able to. There's no magic. That's the magic. I'm going to go into a little bit of the tactics later on over the next 3 days. But essentially, every single time I want something, I ask myself, who can I go and get coaching from? Who can I go and learn from? And I'm always investing in myself, always. Okay, and then I ask myself, who are the people that I can go and mastermind with? Who's the community? And every single time I hire coaches or whatever, I usually outbeat them. Okay, and so that's why I always have to have extra coaches. And then here, and I talk about this concept which I want to talk about today called MSOT, multiple sources of traffic. Now I've started adding in multiple sources of sales funnels. Okay, multiple sources of traffic plus multiple sources of cash flow. Multiple sources of traffic plus multiple sources of conversions equals lots of cash, equals lots of money. However, if you add in multiple sources of sales funnels, do you think your income will expand? It exponentially grows. Okay, most people, they always focus on one sales funnel. That's good to start off with. Right now, we have a sales funnel that sells a program, that sells a, what do you call it? It's called a tripwire, which I'm going to talk to you guys about later on. A $7 tripwire that leads people from $7 all the way up to $40,000. That's one sales funnel. Then I have another sales funnel. It goes from $500, people come in for $500, and then it goes all the way up to $120,000. And again, it's just a sales funnel, which I've tweaked. I've made it much better than what's out on the marketplace. And then all I do is just send traffic. Does that make sense? And because I have multiple sources of traffic working for me, multiple sources of conversions, and I have multiple sources of sales funnels, those three things have essentially helped me build what I've built, and that's what we're going to be sharing with you guys. Okay, so did you guys learn some stuff here? Yeah? Again, this is another thing that you guys want to know for yourself. Every keynote, you're going to learn from a lot of speakers. Just try and find 1, 2, 3. How many? 1, 2, 3. No more than 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, it's going to really overwhelm you, and then you're going to be like, oh, what the heck am I going to do? All right, so